In this video, I'm going to go through the process of showing you how to deal with loot parcels and how you set them up, and as well as how you use them. But you might ask, what is a loot parcel? Well, a loot parcel is what you as a DM have generated in advance or has had generated for you, i.e. you're using a module that has already been created and you're just making use of it. That loot parcel will contain any number of treasure items, be it magical weapons, normal weapons, trinkets, coins, gems, whatever, and it will allow you to drop those items en masse into the party sheet. Or you can actually drop them directly onto an actual character's inventory sheet. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you how to actually create a loot parcel specific to a module that you're in the process of creating. And you do that by first opening up the Parcels icon, which you'll see depending on the format that you have this particular side menu. And it should be on the right and a couple of buttons up from the bottom. Just click on that and you'll see that we have nothing listed. We don't even have a category set up. So that is the first thing that we're going to do. And I'm just going to quickly cheat and select this so I can copy and paste it. And then I'm going to create a new group, which is similar to how we've done it in the past. And just make sure that you hit enter to save that change, stop editing, and now we have a category set aside for the module. So now that I have the parcel section set up, or the category in this case, I can just right click on the background. So anywhere's on the background brings up this selection. If I do it out here, it'll be completely different. So you want to do it within the box. And what we want is this create item feature down here at the bottom. Click that, and you'll see something like this pop up. Now, you can go through the process of actually adding items, gold, coins, whatever, by simply opening up the items category here. And it will take a moment. There we go. And you can pick an item and just drag it over and drop it. And that will add that particular item to the loot parcel. At the same time, you can manually just say, okay, I want to give them 24 gold pieces, 2 platinum pieces, maybe 100 electrum pieces, that kind of thing. You can literally just type in the currencies that you're looking for, but you'll notice that there's nothing here for gemstones. And in previous D&D games, gems used to be tied into the currency system a little bit, but now with 5th edition, they have more or less been moved over as individual items that simply have value. So as a result of that, they're no longer treated as a currency item, but you can find something like, let's see, is there an amethyst? Yeah, so this would be an example of a gem here. You just drag it on, and how many you want? Let's say 5. Now that might be a bit pricey for this particular loot parcel, given everything else that I have on it, but whatever. I'm just showing you an example. The last thing you want to do is give it a name. So I'm just going to show you a generic name. Oops. And that is literally it. You lock it and you're done almost. Now you want to take that loot parcel and link it into the story element or the quest element that you want to tie it to. However, we'll do that later because this isn't the only way you can go through and create a loot parcel. Again, if you have another module that you're using as an example module, you can actually use the loot items from that and drag and drop them much like you would with the system that we have here. So if I close this out, and there we go, that took a moment, but it updated. Let's say, for example, that I have another module loaded, and it happened to include this particular loot parcel. If I want to make a copy of that loot parcel, I literally just drag and drop. Now I have a copy of this loot parcel that I can modify, add items, remove items. Maybe I felt there were too many amethysts, and oops, I forgot it's locked. Amethysts, and I really only want to give 1, that kind of thing. You can go and adjust it and then lock it back into place, and now you can see that we still have 2 distinct loot parcels. In addition to those 2 methods, there's another way that we can go through and create loot parcels, and that is through utilization of the Dungeon Master's random loot tables, if you will. To make use of those tables, you go over to your side menu again, and you'll see here that we have a Tables button. And just click that, and select Dungeons & Dragons DMG Chapter 7. And that is going to be the treasure table listing. Within that, you'll see a grouping of individual treasure assignments or tables that you can utilize, as well as hoards for coins and hoards for treasure. When you're ready to use the table, all you have to do is click on any of these and it will pop open this little role list, if you will. And we'll get to how to use them in just a second. But I want to go over a little bit of a meaning that these titles imply. So myself as a DM, I will typically use individual treasure challenge tables to roll for a particular player, and that could be coins or an item or whatever. And I will make use of those tables and just roll until I'm satisfied with the result, and then that player will get that reward. In relation to the hoards, I read those as the party has completed your quest line, and this is the bulk treasure pile that you get at the end of that particular quest in a typical dungeon hack and slash treasure or anything along those lines, or you've defeated a dragon and that's its hoard. Those kinds of concepts. And there are two types. The coins should be fairly obvious. It will literally just roll on the amount of coinage that that particular party is going to receive. However, when it comes to this grouping of 4 tables, it's going to roll across coins and treasure items and blend them both together the higher up you go. So the way they work, you're going to get a limited number of rolls based on the level that particular party is, or the challenge rating that you're trying to roll against. The higher that challenge rating, the higher number of potential rolls can occur, and the more rolls could potentially be assigned. But what does that actually mean? What that means is that you will be giving larger and larger quantities of whatever rolls happen. So you could end up having a larger amount of a particular item. You could have an entire plethora of magical items, armor, equipment, whatever, thrown into that particular loot. And I'll roll a couple of examples here just to give you an idea of that. But let's return to the treasure card that I already have open and discuss some of the options that you're seeing here. And I'm just going to stretch this out a little bit further just so that we see the whole table. There's a couple of things I want to point out here. When you click on this, you're going to roll, and it's going to roll based on the output choice that you have made, as well as make use of the X number of dice that you have decided to make use of. So in this case, it's throwing it out into the chat window, and as we can see, we're receiving 23 copper pieces. In this case, we have a percentile die that is being made use of, and it's 1 through to 100. And depending on the number on that particular percentile die, it will roll against one of these particular columns. Now, if you were to compare that with the individual challenge associated with the higher levels, you'll see that we're going to have multiple rolls occur. So in this case, if you were to roll between a 16 and a 55, you'll have 1d6 times 1,000 gold pieces given. Same with the platinum pieces. It will also roll and multiply that by 100. So you could potentially be giving the party 600 platinum pieces as well as up to 6,000 gold pieces if you rolled between these two values. At the same time, you're probably going to get a minimum of 1,000 because that's a 1d6. You can't roll a 0. So you're going to get between 1,000 to 6,000 gold and 100 to 600 platinum. And that's what that party is, or that individual person is going to receive. The same thing happens when you start looking at the hoards. You'll see that a lot more in the way of items will potentially kick off additional rolls. And the reason why I say that, if you look here, there's a 1 and a 2. That's actually referring to the coins challenge. So you're going to get coins, but it's going to link you against this particular table, which is going to link you against these particular rolls. So you can see how chaining an X number of tables can actually make use of potentially giving you a large amount of items. If you roll between a 3 and a 5, you're rolling for gems or art objects as well as magic items, and you're rolling against coins. And you'll notice that there are different tables that are being rolled against here. So in this case, it's the magic item table C. And there's a D, there's an E, G, H, I, so on and so forth. And there's a larger number of tables that you're going to be rolling against. So you're going to be having 3 rolls occur here, whereas here you're going to roll once, and then you're going to roll again for the coinage that that particular individual is going to receive. And that's why I say that the individual treasure challenge tables are generally used to reward one player. But it doesn't mean you have to just reward that one player. You can take that same loot parcel and give it to multiple players if it's, for example, the coin one. But if it's a magic item that you've included in a loot table and it's designed to be given to the one particular individual you're planning to give it to, then in that case it wouldn't make any sense to go ahead and give it to anybody else. Whereas your horde rewards are for the whole party, and it will roll multiple times on different tables to be able to create those hordes. And to do that, I will actually go through and show you what a Challenge 17 horde roll looks like. So it's rolled once, now rolling once, twice, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, that is our reward. 32,000 gold, 25,000 platinum pieces. Okay, these guys aren't going to have to work again. And a couple of magical items from the looks. But you can see it's very difficult to read from the chat table. Well, there's a different choice you can make, and that's where the output comes back into play. You can toggle this so that it comes out as a story item, as a parcel, which means it will automatically create the parcel package for you, and you don't have to do a thing. You've already got, oops, I already closed the parcel window. You've already got your category selected, so if I were to now click on this and roll that, it will go through and complete all of the various roles. And as you can see, it's building your parcel listing right there in front of you, and it's already added it to the category that you have selected within the parcel window. So in this case, we had a cup set with silver emeralds. We had 2 gold jewelry boxes with platinum filigree. I have no idea what filigree is, but anyway. 1 jeweled gold crown. Okay, fit for a king apparently. 2 potions of cloud giant strength. Holy crap. 1 potion of invisibility and 1 sling bullet, a package of 5 essentially, and it's a +3 bullet. So you have 5 +3 sling bullets. You also received 30,000 platinum pieces and 52,000 gold pieces. As you can see for the module that I'm building right now, that might be a bit excessive. But that shows you how the whole process works. What about a loot parcel for an item you have created that is specific and unique to your particular module? Well, that's also easy to do, and that is sort of where we're going to end up anyway. So if you remember in the last video, I went through and created a number of items specific to my module. Oops, get rid of the amethyst search here. There we go. But I haven't created the loot parcel for that. All right, so let's go through and do that. And I'm going to clean these out first because I don't need any of these. All right, and get rid of this window. Okay, so the first thing that I need to do is the party is making use of a wagon. Okay, fair. But we also had the improved wagon had the party actually gone through and completed the process of actually dropping off the body to the stable master. All right, so let's create a new loot parcel. This would be, what chapter is that? Let me move this out of the way. Let's pull this down. So that would be 4A. So I generally like to link the chapter value with the parcel. Okay, and that's the chapter. I'll be opening that back up in a moment. But I want to be able to add this wagon into it. And that's all I do. I literally just drag and drop the wagon. I have now created a parcel for the party that is unique to my particular module that is going to reward them the wagon once they've completed the particular quest. And in fact, now that I think about it, this is actually a surprise. Seems like text selection still doesn't work in this particular window. Party reward when main quest complete. I'll rename this later, but this is just a general idea now. Hang on. Wow. Okay. SmiteWorks, please fix that. All right, party reward. Titles are always the hard part. You gotta go through the process of making sure that when the DM is going through and reading the module and you want to be able to give a particular item at the end of the quest line, then you kind of want to be able to link that, but you as the module creator also have to go through and remember to link that at the end of the quest line. For now, I'm just going to create party reward if body returned. Okay, there, that's a little bit better. Now, this will actually go through and come into play when the module essentially is complete, but only if the party actually brought this particular body back. So the first place I'm going to link this is going to be here. I'm going to temporarily move that over here and unlock this. Control 1 to remove the selection of the link again. Oops. I tend to just be very plain when I'm trying to point out a loot parcel kind of thing. And I'm just going to drag and drop that to there. And now we've actually gone through and completed all of the to-do items associated with this particular module. So I'm going to lock it, and that should be the last time that I have to adjust it. I do, however, need to remember that this needs to be linked at the end of the quest line and explain to the person who is running this particular module, be it myself or someone else, that if they brought the body back, they get this as an additional reward. So that's something that I myself will have to remember as the module creator in this particular case. Okay, so I've now linked it in to the storyline. And because I have actually set it up under the group category that I want it to be under, I've got our story elements all under the group category. This module by far is not complete. I still haven't done any maps or anything like that. But at this particular point, I could potentially export this module and load it up in Fantasy Grounds to see what everything looks like. I'm not going to do that here, but we've gotten enough done that it's now worth looking at it from a how did things load on the DM screen side of things rather than the creator's side of things. And you'll want to do that quite a few times. But how do you actually make use of this? Well, I'm going to show you. The first thing you want to do, I'm going to create a temporary couple of characters. So that's 1 and 2. Right. So I have 2 characters. I'm going to link them into a party. And we have inventory. And there's 2 ways that we could go and link that particular loot item, if you will, into an individual player or into an individual party. So for the party one, I'm going to make use of this because it is a party reward. And literally you just drag and drop it to there. You now have created a loot parcel that automatically drops the improved wagon as an item within the parcel or the party's inventory. It's not carried by any particular individual, and this particular item doesn't really make sense to actually carry it out anywhere. And as you can see here, if I click on this button, it doesn't drop it to anybody. That's because it hasn't been assigned to anybody. So let me roll a couple of other loot parcels that make a little bit more sense to be dropped into a given inventory or to be rewards for particular players. And then I'll be right back. Just want to point this out. I literally just rolled a Treasure Hoard Challenge 17 and got, oops. Let's see, where's the die 20? Everything from here was a subsequent roll against a challenge table. That's how many times it rolled against this particular system. And each one of these gems in the potion were individually rolled against for some reason. So it gives you an idea as to how frequently a table can be re-rolled and then rolled again and then rolled again and rolled again. And it just can sometimes keep going. I've actually had one treasure hoard that I was doing for a very high level quest. And I used this treasure hoard and it rolled probably a good 20 times, I want to say. I was there for a good 2 minutes waiting for it to finish. And I was worried it wasn't going to. Okay, so I've got a number of treasures set aside here, loot parcels, if you will. So I'm just going to quickly close that in the tables. And you'll see here that I have the inventories open for each of these individual players. Now, one thing I want to point out is I have not specified the coin definition here. And if you've looked at any of my character creation videos, you'll see that I always manually type in the definitions here. Well, you don't have to actually do that. You can literally just drag and drop your first loot parcel onto a particular player's party sheet or inventory sheet, and it will automatically do that for you, and it will order it in this particular way. Generally, I put platinum pieces up here and gold pieces here, but that's literally the only difference. And I can literally just take this and keep deploying all of these, and you'll see that it is cumulative. So it's going through and it's adding the results together. So each time I drop these in here, it's simply adding the difference to the individual party sheet. The same thing happens when you're dealing with the actual treasure hoard. You drop it into the party, and if you keep doing it, it will keep increasing the individual items as well as the gold. Your party sheet comes into play because it makes it easy as a DM to deploy and divvy out all of the items. So you can take a 5-10 minute session at the end of the evening and say, all right, who wants these 3 potions of supreme healing? Well, you can go player 1, player 2, and it will divvy them out, and it should, if I'm not mistaken, leave the 3rd one here. And by clicking on this distribute assignments here, it will drop everything into place. And you'll see that 2 of them got assigned, 1 of them got left behind. And if you look at the inventory now, each party member now has an actual potion in it. Additionally, there's a lot more gold. So much gold that it has exceeded their screens. That's fine. That's what happens at level 27. Or level 17, rather. Not sure where I got 27, but anyway. Now, I dropped a significant amount of that particular loot parcel into here. But what about all of this stuff that is still in the party sheet? Well, the next time they're in town, you could potentially state, all right, the party might want to go through and sell it off, and you go, okay, you go to the general store, you're getting 50% of the value of the items in this particular parcel item list. You click sell items, and it will literally sell everything here that doesn't have an assignment. And you'll notice that the wagon went away. So what I like to do, and I'll just drop that down there. I'm going to drop this into here again. What I'd like to do is assign an item to a player that doesn't exist if it's meant to stay in the party inventory. So in this case, the improved item goes to Oxen. Well, Oxen doesn't exist. It doesn't get sold because there's an assignment value there. So that's one of the things that you want to keep an eye on when you're dealing with party items that are meant to stay in the party sheet. Wagons, for example, are a perfect example of that. Horses are generally party-wide if they're hauling the wagon. Same with oxen. So you can assign those to those particular animals because technically the improved wagon is being hauled by the oxen that exist within the party. And any item that is meant to go to a player but hasn't yet been divvied out, you can simply put the assignment there, sell off everything that's left, and then you can clearly see where everything is going and then go and promptly divvy it out. But you'll notice it did not divvy this out. There's 1 potion here, but I'm assigning it to 2 people. The game doesn't know what to do with that particular one. However, now it will. But it still doesn't know what to do with the oxen. Or sorry, with the improved wagon. And that's perfectly fine. That's meant to stay there. So it's a way of preventing accidental sale of items that are meant to stay here. Now, what about if I do this again? Well, let's go with improved wagon. So I want to keep this potion in the improved wagon. Everything else is going to get sold, But because I've assigned that to the wagon, it just means it's being stored in the wagon is the way that I'm making use of that. And that's how I, as a DM, like to run my parties. It just makes everything convenient. So much simpler to do so that the next time when the party is in town, yeah, I'd like to sell off the rest of these things that are in our party sheet. Okay, done. You don't have to worry about it, and then you divvy out the gold to the party. And that's how easy it is to actually go through and make use of. Now, I don't want any of this to be exported with my module. So, I am going to go through and destroy these items, as well as these items. And if I delete these two characters from the party, you'll see that the inventory still sticks around. To clear this section of the party inventory, once you've removed the players from the party, you literally just click this refresh button to rebuild the inventory party. It will go through and reset everything that's here. So that's how you can go ahead and clear that out. Now, with that in mind, I've essentially reached the end of this video, but I do have to impart a little bit of news. Because I have not been able to progress the story to the point where I'm ready to build out the maps, I need to park this particular video series until I have done so. And I honestly don't know how long that's going to take. So what will happen, though, is I'm going to return to adding videos to some of the other series that I have up on YouTube and start to fill in that information while I go through the process of building in enough of a storyline that I'm comfortable with how I think the map is going to look. Once I'm ready to build the map, I'm not going to be doing so within Fantasy Grounds unless I have gotten much more comfortable with the ability to do so. Unity is getting the ability to modify and adjust maps within the interface. But I don't have the assets available to do that, and other than some of the basic ones that were given as part of the Kickstarter campaign. And I'm not yet comfortable with that interface. So what I'm going to make use of is a different package that I already own, as well as show you some resources on where you can go and create maps for yourself that were shown to me by others. And I will give credit to those individuals once I remember their names. But, so don't be surprised if all of a sudden a video pops up in this particular series at a much later date down the road, once I felt that I've gotten to the point where I'm now ready to create the maps. Because really, that's the next step. I've created the quests, some of them anyway. I've created the items, some of them that I'm going to be rewarding. I have created some of an example of a loot parcel here that I'm going to be making use of. But now I need to finish the story element within the town to be able to create the map I want to make use of. And I need to be able to create a map for the valley that everything is in, at the same time define the village. And I still haven't identified all of the locations that the party has to go, so I can't really create a complete map just yet. And on top of that, I have to create maps for all of those locations if I'm not going to make use of locations that already exist in other map packs. So those are the kinds of things that have to happen next. And that's why I'm going to jump onto the other series, get some recordings done for those, while I continue to finish the storyline or progress the storyline up to the point where I can now start a map and actually record that process. So with that in mind, that's the end of this particular video. I will see you in one of the other series in the next one. And then once I've gotten to the point where I can now show that map creation process, I'll record that and put it up on YouTube for everyone to see. I wish to thank you for taking the time to watch this particular video. I hope you found it informative and useful to familiarizing yourself with Fantasy Grounds in general, and that you had fun in the process. If you found the video useful and you liked the content of the particular video, go ahead and click that like button to let me know. And if you have any questions specific to the topic covered by this particular video, or just have some comments in general, please feel free to post something in the comments section, and I will do my best to respond to any questions that are asked. Additionally, I do release content quite regularly, and it's generally specific to Fantasy Grounds or 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons at this time. So if you'd like to be notified when new videos come out, go ahead and subscribe and click the notification bell to ensure that notification is sent to you when I release a new video.